Thank you so much, Dr. and Mrs. Wiggans, Glen and Marlo, for joining us online today. This is the second time we've kind of invited people to a conversation via Zoom. You both have been incredibly dedicated fund holders of the Athens Area Community Foundation, and it had a profound effect here locally and nationally with your philanthropy. And today I asked to chat with you so you could share a little bit more about your story and how it has played into the support that you all have given to the National Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation. Now, as I understand it, myotonic dystrophy is a form of muscular dystrophy, and it affects about 1 in 2,300 people. Dr. Wiggans, as a longtime physician, you have a unique perspective on health, but as parents, both you and Marlo know firsthand the profound emotional and physical effects of a disease like myotonic dystrophy. Would you share with us today a little bit how this disease has played a role in your family?
Okay, before I get started, Marlo and I wanted to thank you, Sarah, for giving us this opportunity to talk about myotonic dystrophy and the foundation. It's something very near and dear to our heart. Before we tell you our personal story, Sarah, let me tell you a little bit about the disease. Myotonic dystrophy is the most common form of adult muscular dystrophy. As a physician, I had never heard of myotonic dystrophy, but have learned more than I ever wanted to know in the last 15 years. The name myotonic refers to the inability of muscles to relax, most noticeably in a handshake, and is the hallmark of the disease, although the muscle weakness and wasting is even more troubling for affected individuals. It is a genetic disease and has a 50% chance of being passed on to the next generation, and often with worsening symptoms. Unfortunately, all 3 of our sons are affected in varying degrees. It is a progressive, multi-systemic disease affecting all types of muscle: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle in the gastrointestinal tract, and cardiac muscle. In addition, it can affect the brain, resulting in excessive fatigue and loss of executive function. Lifespan is significantly impacted because of the disease effects on the heart and lungs. At this time, there is no cure or any treatment for it. Our oldest son, Paul, who lives here in Athens, has been most affected of the 3 sons with the disease. At age 26, 5 months after being married, he was in the ICU with a cardiac arrhythmia and subsequently required the placement of a defibrillator. It was 5 years before the diagnosis of myotonic dystrophy was made. In the ensuing 15 years, Paul has experienced significant muscle weakness, been shocked by his defibrillator on several occasions, suffered marked reduction of his lung capacity, and been bothered by gastrointestinal issues. He has been unable to work for 8 years. Simple activities of daily living are incredibly challenging. Our other 2 sons have similar struggles, but to a lesser degree.
Thank you both so much. Marlo, as a mom, I can only imagine what it's like to see 3 of your children, and as a father too, but as a mom, what it means to see your young people walk through such a life-altering disease. And I thank you both so much for sharing your story with us today. I think most of us can think of at least one person in our lives who have suffered from muscular dystrophy, and I did not know until I worked with you all about myotonic dystrophy or its prevalence. So I appreciate learning more. You both have been highly involved in the National Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation. In our role at the Athens Area Community Foundation, we often talk about guiding local philanthropy. Yet there are organizations like this that have a national presence and help and affect people here in our backyards. Can you tell us a little bit about the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation and how it supports families like your three sons who are living with this disease?
Well, as Glenn mentioned, in 2005, when our family was diagnosed, information on the internet was abysmal. It was depressing. It was totally inadequate. In fact, the physician that diagnosed Paul said, whatever you do, don't look on the internet. But people had no idea, we had no idea where to go and how to find out more information and how to get some support. The fall of 2005, I was invited to go to Quebec, Canada for a meeting of the International Symposium on Myotonic Dystrophy, and there were 20 Americans there. And at that meeting, we kind of formed the idea of the American version of a foundation that would support people with myotonic dystrophy. So 2 years later, 2007, the MDF was established, and its emphasis is on care, support of families, cure, trying to find a cure, and advocacy, trying to raise funds. So MDF has provided invaluable resources for patients and caregivers, a lot of information online, a lot of information for patients to take to their doctors, because so many doctors aren't familiar with the disease. Patients often have to be their own advocate. There have been regional support groups established. There have been annual national meetings connecting patients. We go every year and we meet other families, we meet caregivers, we meet physicians taking care of myotonic patients, we meet researchers and drug companies who are looking at the research and trying to develop a cure. The foundation has also encouraged people to go to Congress and try to encourage funding for rare diseases, including myotonic dystrophy. Since 2009, the foundation has sponsored 34 research fellows. They're given $100,000 to study the disease when they're still in their training phases. And most of them have stayed on to continue their research. So making this story a little more personal and local, our daughter-in-law, Angie, Paul's wife, works at Athens Academy as a teaching specialist, and she applied for and was granted a Pursuit of Excellence Award. And her project, called Socks On, is to raise awareness and to fundraise to sponsor one of those fellows. She's hoping to at least get a half a fellow, maybe a whole fellow. The name reflects the socks on, the extreme difficulty patients have with even doing simple tasks like putting their socks on. So we so appreciate your allowing us to share the story and letting the Athens Area Community Foundation know about our passion, and certainly appreciate any support members of the foundation might offer.
Thank you guys so much for sharing that. I'm riddled with cold chills, for both one, getting to know you two, to learn from you two, and to see where you continue to just pour into other people's lives in the face of your own challenges as a family. So thank you so much. And at the bottom of this video, and an email to people who support the Community Foundation, who are invested with the Community Foundation, we'll give you great ways to link to learn more about the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation, and then even more importantly, to support Socks On, the campaign that Angie is doing in support of myotonic dystrophy and her husband, Paul. I heard that a fellow costs $100,000, and I think Angie's raised close to 20. You were saying you'd love to see her be able to get half a fellow supported. So perhaps we can get some people behind getting Socks On even more. So thank you both so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you so much, Sarah.